order to go with our, with our topic here. Yeah, so sometimes, yeah, you would want to, on your website, you don't just display whatever, things, go into structure. And so, for example, let's say that you are displaying some contact information for people, okay? And so in this, so you're displaying things here. So this is what you might see on a web page, but then this data you would want, because you wouldn't typically be dealing with just one page. You would find that you have this like pattern of data, and you want to conserve it in a certain structure. So you would want to give some description of this information that is kind of like in the background in your XML file. That you would say that, okay, I am displaying information about a business card. So I have this thing called a business card. And in a business card, I would have, for example, the name of a person. I would have a telephone number, but not only one kind of telephone number. I have, for example, 3 types of telephone numbers. And I have, for example, an email. Those are things that I'm showing on my web page. So I need to map this on my XML, which is just supposed to map my data. It doesn't have to do with how things are going to look, what colors. Okay, so mainly XML is used to just describe the data. Okay, so yeah, let's see how we could what is XML composed of. So in XML, you start your document with this with the first this first line, the document declaration. So you use it just as it is, and then after below that, so that's the first line, and then below that you would start to say like list what your elements are. So in the previous page when we saw this business card, so I could have an element named an element which is a business card, and within that element I would want to have a name for the person who has this business card. And I would want to have a phone number. I would want to have an email. So those are name, phone number. Those are elements. Okay, so so here you would start to create your tags to introduce those elements inside your XML document, and you would give them names. You would start to give them names that fit your own intentions. So yes, so you might give something like client name, for example, phone number. Okay, so this here, the element part, it's a tag, and you wouldn't really write element, so you would write the name instead of element, the name of your element. So for example, business card, without spaces. And then you could have an optional attribute. So you may need an attribute for your element. So an example of where you might need an attribute for your element is the phone number. So you saw that on a business card we had 3 types of phone numbers. So sometimes rather than say, phone number, and then another phone number, you could say like phone number type home, phone number type work. So that's for the attribute part. I mean, it'll look maybe better with examples. Then you can also insert comments inside your XML. So a comment, this is how it starts. Those are the bounds of the comment. And the text in like italic, that's the whatever you can say there, whatever you want as a comment. And then you could have this part. I doubt that any one of you is going to use, but it's just there, so that you can see it. This part is called CData and. So this part is the code that you write. And then in between those brackets and this bracket, you put here whatever you want. So you put anything that you want to put. And why would you need something like this? This is in the case that you need to have some code, JavaScript, and anything you put in that in your XML document is parsed. So the browser would, will be really picky if you have some keywords that you're not supposed to use, and some special characters that you are not allowed to use. So if you have code, you have like JavaScript code, for example, you could use this C data. I doubt that anyone is going to do that. So, but it's there. There are some other things, but I did not mention them because we're going to be dealing with elements, and possibly some elements could have attributes. So for the XML element tags, as we said, you can name it anything you want, but there are some restrictions on the way that you name your elements. So an element name can start with a letter. It can start with an underscore, and it can contain the things that a tag that can contain is kind of like a dash, an underscore. It can contain a dot. But it cannot contain special characters, for example, this hash or the $sign, or say commas, or all those special characters. It's not allowed to contain them. For example, this is not valid because it did not start with either a letter or an underscore. It started with a number, and you see that you can use a number, but for example, here it's valid to use a number because it did not appear at the beginning. And then, there are some reserved words. So the word XML is reserved, so you shouldn't name any of your elements, with the word XML within it, okay? Okay, yes, things to have in mind when you do your XML. It's, as you know, the proper XML syntax, and there isn't, like so many things here to say. But something that you need to keep track of is that your XML document has to have, everything has to be within one big root. You cannot have multiple elements going beneath each other. For example, in the business card, for example, if I make a business card, a root tag could be business card, and within that I have, the name, the phone number, and stuff. Right? And then something else, you will have to maintain your nesting well. A tag that you open, it has to be closed before opening, for example, a new tag. So there's those are some nesting codes that you will have to keep track of, but this will evolve with practice. So, okay. So let's try and make XML tags for this information. So maybe if you could, you can start and see. Maybe I'll use the here. So we have something that we might like to call business card. So as a tag. And then, since I open a tag for business card, I don't have to name it. So maybe you will want to call it B card, business, anything else. Okay, so that's a proposed name. So since I open a business card, some tag here, I need to remember to close it. So. And this is also case sensitive, so you have to make sure your cases match as well. Okay, now, so we have this big thing called a business card, which has some things inside it. It has a name, it has a phone number, and it has, like phone numbers, and it has an email. So for each one of these, you're gonna need to give a tag. So for example, the name Kermit Frog, I might want to call it name, and then say here Kermit Frog, and then close name. And then I could have, I should have for that, I would have a phone. But then let's make it as a phone tag, rather than say, like a tag for like home phone and then work phone, another like new tag, mobile phone. Rather than have like 3 tags of different names, we could just say like this is a phone, and then I could add an attribute here and say, and call my attribute type. It doesn't have to be name type. And for the first one, it's a home phone. So I would say home, and this is inserted. So for an attribute, you insert it within double quotes. And so yeah, so I opened a tag here. What should come next is like the actual data, the actual phone number, 612, for example. And then my tag ended, you know, okay, so this piece of information is for this one phone, so I'm gonna close phone. And I don't need to mention anything about the attribute. The name of this is phone, so I close it with phone. If I named this home phone, then okay, I would say like home phone / home phone, but you know, whatever I started with. So this is also about this proper nesting. I couldn't, for example, before closing the phone here, it's, you know, I would need to, and this would happen like while you're typing. You can forget, oh, I forgot, you know, you can forget to close the tag that you open. For example, and I could, let's say, I would say here, introduce a new element and say phone type is work, and yeah, so if, and then say, you know, like close phone, but I had to close the first phone first, right? So this is the proper nesting. You have to remember to close your tags in the appropriate place. So it's not okay to say /phone here. No, /phone had to be, you know, like one to close mine here, and then just one to close this one here, for example. And then I go with the rest of things. So if you could just mark this, for example, on the papers that you have, and you know, follow this pattern. So we did 2 phone. We have still 1 phone for the mobile, where you would place your opening tag here, your closing tag, you know, on the right, and just to kind of start to a little bit have some sense of, you know, how XML, you know, how is my XML related to this data? This might help you kind of like make, you know, establish this connection. So, and then stop at the Kermit frog. I mean, stop at the last thing for Kermit frog. You have another one. You have the fuzzy one. So we'll do that once you're done. Okay, so how is this looking? So does everyone, for example, have, say, you named your tag email and then /email, phone type equals mobile /phone, and then the rest is kind of like just like here. And then after you're done like email /email, maybe most probably you. Where would the business card tag go? So we have to have like this, like one which encompasses all of the other tags, which is business card. So yeah, so business card. So it should go at the very top, the opening tag, and then you should close it somewhere after email, like /email /business card or /email, and then after that /business card, doesn't matter. But remember, it's case sensitive. So if you introduce a tag, you have to commit yourself to the case that you adopted. Okay, so So once this is done, yeah, so you've done, yeah, you have mapped the data of one business card. Now so we have, say, more business cards coming. We have more than one. So for example, for the next one, what do you think is going, what do you think we should do? Sorry? Yeah, I didn't just hear.
Same thing we did last time?
Yeah, the same. You would insert your tags in the same way. And then, so you would have to open a new business card tag for this one, which will be closed at the very end. And then, you know, name / name, you know, phone type, whatever, / phone for all of these, email / email, and then your business card is closed, okay? So you have now those two elements. But then we have a violation, a little violation here for the syntax. We said that we need one root tag. So when we had only one element, like the permit frog, we had one root tag, which is this, business card. So this is one tag which encompasses everything else. Now we felt that, oh no, our data is expanding. We have more people to give business cards to, and we added one. So now below business card, you have another business card on your XML file. But now it seems as if I have two roots, but I'm not allowed to have two roots. So any suggestions what we could do to fix this?
Could you just rename the root?
Rename it?
So
So
here we
rename
have
this?
business card as one word. You could do business_card, and that would be.
Rename, so would you, one of the existing ones and rename them?
Yes.
Okay, but then, so let's say we rename business_card, and then we have, you know, and then we finish business_card, and then we start with business card without the underscore, right?
Yeah, would that technically
And then,
be
yeah, but still we have two, we don't have one root, we have two things. It's not encompassed in
Okay.
one. Yeah. Yes.
You would create one root that contains both of the business cards.
Yeah, so we need to introduce a new one, okay? So we could introduce one on the top here, which will open here. Maybe we can call it anything we want, but sometimes you can see some pattern. Okay, since this is a business, this is a root that is going to contain some business cards. So how about I call it business cards? Give it like just the plural, just, you know, human language. Not, you know, you're not obliged to do that, but. So a pattern that you might see that, yeah, I'm gonna open a new root here, business cards, with the plural, and I'm going to close it right at the bottom where I only have one root. Okay, so yeah, so could you go ahead and, you know, just practice doing that if it's possible? Yes.
So all we're doing is basically putting a new tag up on the top and the bottom, but keeping everything else the same in the center.
Yeah.
Isn't there a way for I know multiple, there's even card companies where you can just put your information in. How do they do that without having to constantly make new code for it?
Oh. So here, what you're doing with XML is you're kind of like getting some sense of what XML is like. Later, you're going to do to data, and you're going to be relieved of all of these. You're not going to need to keep track of where my root is. This is just to have understand. When you see some XML code, you kind of like make sense out of it. That okay, I see. Yeah, this is XML. They have those elements. But yeah, this is how you're going to be doing the data for your client for the purpose of this module. Yes.
So for this example, both these ones would both still have the business card tag, but then both of them would have a tag overall that would be different.
Yeah, so imagine that this is a text editor, the paper that you have, and you have two definitions of business card. Okay, so you need to insert business cards, a new tag. And it has a new name. It opens here. And then after I've listed all my business cards, say I have more than two, whatever, after I'm done, I close it with, I close this with /business cards.
So you would have both cards underneath that business card.
Yeah, you would have only one business cards here,
Yes.
and it closes once after all of my business cards have been listed.
Oh.
Okay, so this is kind of like a way to kind of try and make sense of how XML might look. Yeah, so here, I mean, that's kind of like a proposed code, but without the business. So here we're doing it only for one, for example. I mean, you did the code on your papers, that's okay. I might change this, because I mean, they're gonna see this offline, I mean, whenever, so they can, yeah. So I'm gonna change this on the side and resend it to
Yeah,
you.
and then I'll send it to them.
Because I mean, here it's only showing one business card. Okay, so yeah, I mean, yeah, finish the tagging if you're still tagging. So with XML, you see that I have this flexibility. I can name everything. Whenever I think any element pops up to my mind, I just put it there. But I have to follow the rules of where's the root and all these things. So, but then you will need a mechanism to restrict that. So, because I mean, your data has, sometimes people might collaborate, and maybe some people are gonna send you some business cards of their own, maybe. And you would want to add them to your business cards. You don't want mismatches between them. Maybe they name the phone something else, telephone or whatever. So you would want to impose some constraints on your XML. So the price of flexibility is that you have to make this new document, which kind of like describes the rules over any XML code that you want to deal with. So. Yeah, so that brings us to the document type definition. So yeah, in order to impose rules on XML data, you can use two methods. One of them, the document type definition, and another one is the schema. And we're going to be doing the document type definition. The schema things get really very, very detailed, and the document type definition gives you, some basics of constraining your data. The schema gives you more power. You put like stronger constraints. You are really able, you have more strict, control over the data. So we're going to do the DTD definitions. So just like, so for you have, with HTML, you saw that you can have a CSS file that kind of like goes with it, and it can go inside the HTML file, or it can go externally to the HTML file. So there's this little parallel, not exactly the same, but I mean, like there's this parallel that your data is inside the XML file, but then the rules go inside the DTD file. Okay, so yes. So what you do is kind of like you can in a DTD you can say what elements can be there in my DTD, and you can say what values my elements can have, and yes. So relatively, a DTD is simple if we compare it to a schema. Right. So. Yeah, we with the DTD we do a markup declarations. So you'll still see those brackets, and within those brackets, let's see what do we do with those. So with the DTD, we can't get all that creative as with XML. We can't say, oh, I want to name things. Now I'm constrained with how my XML file looks. So yeah, I can specify what elements I have. I can specify if my element has attributes. So those are kind of like, I would say, what rules are going to apply to my DTD. With entities and processing instructions. So I mean, some things that you're not going to really use. has to do with, doing some more advanced things. But we're going to basically do the elements, the attributes, parameter entity references. We're not gonna release those. You could insert comments on your DTD if you want. Yeah, so with the DTD, so we said that the DTD can be within your XML file. So if it is, then this is how you started, and you started at the top of your XML document. So you would start it with doc type, and the name here, the name that goes here is is your root tag. So for example, here our root tag was business cards. So we could say like doc type, business cards. So I'm like specifying everything that belongs to business cards. And then, you put whatever definitions that we're going to do. We'll see some examples in a little bit. And we close that within the XML file. If it is a different file, it's still used, you're still using Atom. And so you open a new file in Atom, and you would start it with this line. And you would start your document type definition. You do the same as in here, but you add this part here. Maybe not. No, there will be a little difference. We'll see in a little bit. Okay. So yeah, and you would save your XML file is saved as .xml, and your DTD file is saved as .dtd if you have a DTD separate. Okay. Yeah, so declaring elements in DTD. Right, so you would start with, for any element that you want, you would say, you would use those are keywords, like the element is a keyword. And then you would specify what name it has. And then you would give it some content specification. The content specification is going to be, you could tell it that my element has empty content. My element can have anything. My element can have other elements within it. So for example, this element, business card, follows the rule that it has element content. Because within business card here, we have some more elements. But for example, the name tag, it does not have element content. So I'm going to say in my DTD, for example, the name tag, the element name, and the content specification is, I could say any. It can have anything. I can have anything for name. I don't have restrictions on name. And then, yeah, for example, if we want, a mixed thing, it can have both. It can have both elements and character data. So here, what do you mean by character data? What do you mean by elements? So in the example that we did, for example here, this is an element, and this is a sample of character data. This is a sample of character data. The data that is actually the actual data, right? The name of Kermit Frog, or this phone number. So this is character data. Whereas, for example, this is an element. Anything within the tag is the element. So this might hopefully get clearer with some examples. So those are here examples of not necessarily to our like this Kermit Frog business card thing. So yeah, so here for the first one, this exclamation mark element. This is a keyword, and then we have a tag name. So this is the first example. It's telling us that the element named miscellaneous, the element which has the name miscellaneous, can contain anything, any stuff in it. It doesn't tag. It's not very constrained. And then, for example, the next one, it tells us that, again, note that the element is a keyword, and then it's followed by the name of your tag. What names did you use for your tags? So IMG is is supposed to be an empty tag. It's not gonna have anything. For what purposes, it depends. Yeah.
Is the DTD is it case sensitive? Does it have to match the case that you use in your XML?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's case sensitive. And yeah, so for example, here the elements, they happen to have all caps. So, oh yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not that you have to follow that. Okay, everything's gonna be caps or something. Yes. So you have to the element name that you place, that you're describing in your DTD, it has to match the element name that you used in the XML file. And then element with the element here, for example, in this example, we have a name element. It's called name. Just its name is name. And it can, when you open those parentheses, you're telling it, what can this element contain? So here we're saying that it can contain PC data. PC data is short for parsed character data. So parsed character data, it's just characters. So for the name for frog, for example, it's PC data. It's anything. It can be Kermit Frog. It can be I don't know, any name that you can think about. University of Minnesota. It can be Jim something. Okay. So yeah. So here you're saying that the element called name has this type PC data. So you're when you're doing your DTD, I expect that you're going to be using this, a good deal on your DTD. And then, for example, we have an element specification of. So we have an element called CD, and then when you have so in those parentheses, you are actually giving it a limited set of what values it can have. So it can have two possible values. So for a CD, it can have no. So here for CD, you're telling it that for those parentheses, you're telling it that CD further has two more elements here. So it's here. So CD has within it an element called title and an element called artist. Another example is, for example, this. Let's say that you have data about like dwelling, and so this when you use this bar, what do you call this? Like, is this like a bar?
I have no idea.
So it is there on the keyboard. It's
yeah.
It's above the backslash beneath the delete here. Yeah. So here you're saying that it can have this or this. So the meaning of this is or. It can have this or this or this. So when you were having the comma, it's kind of like it has to have all of these. But here it's kind of like it can be either house, because a dwelling cannot at the same time be house and an apartment and a trailer. So there would be like the logic for your client's data where you can when you're thinking about how things are done. Yeah.
Can we use PC data to cover reserved words? Say for some reason somebody's name was XML.
Oh yeah, in that case you would use the C data rather than parsed character data, because in C data it's not parsed. In the PC data, no. For example, let's say I say that name is name is of type PC data, and I happen to have someone who's he has a nickname of XML dude, whatever. So if you have it there, it's going to. I expect that it's not going to. If you specify it as a PC data, because PC data means it's parsed, so P is for parsed. If you want to kind of like overcome that, you can say that it's of type C data.
Okay.
Yeah, and then for example here the title, an element called title, and it can either have right away some PC data, or it can have also further an element within it, which is called subtitle. So those are some examples of what we can do in our DTD, how to specify things. And here, like some more thing, this is here is kind of like giving you some flexibility on in specifying how your data should look like. So you could, for example, so we said that we can have we use this keyword. We say that I have an element, its name is letter. And those parentheses, within those, I'm saying that it can have, so its name is letter, and let's forget about those special characters for a little bit. So if you don't have those special characters, then you're saying that my letter element is composed of the elements A, an element named A, an element named B, an element named C, okay? Now, if you can sometimes say that you would want to kind of like give some more, more specification to your constraint. For example, if you add this question mark, you would be saying that yes, my an element within letter, the element A within letter, it can appear. It's optional, but it can appear at most one time. So it's 0 or 1 time. If you use the star, it means that it's very much optional. You can have it 0 times. You can have it as many times as you want. With the plus, it's kind of close to this one. It says that, no, it's not necessarily close. Anyhow, so the plus means that it can appear at least 1 time. And if it appears any more times, that's fine. Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of like, you can use those to give some more specification and more restriction onto your XML data. So, yeah, those are examples from here and there. We don't have this still. We haven't integrated this with, for example, with our business card. Okay, so declaring the attributes, yeah. So yeah, and then my XML file does not only contain elements, it can contain attributes. So how do I handle this in DTD with the attributes? So remember with the with elements, we use the keyword that element. I have an element, its name is so and so, and it contains whatever. With the attributes, I use the keyword @list. So my element has some attributes. So @list, and I give it the element name. So for example, here we have phone and type. So we would say @list phone space type, and then my type, what should it contain also? So is it PC data? Is it like a list of possible things? So, yeah, so attribute types, yeah, you'll make sense of this later, but let's go to the examples. So here we're saying that I have attributes for an element called package. The name of my attribute is status, and the type of my attribute is CData. And then here I would, so what happens here is that, let's say that my attribute does not have a value, it defaults to the value OK. I mean, if you don't get this, that's really a detail. Don't worry about that. But if we close it until here, it says that I have an element package. It has an attribute named status. The type is CData, so it can contain letters, or like any combination of letters, numbers, whatever. So character data. Yeah. So then here, for example, for the dwelling type, for the dwelling, I have an element. It has an attribute named type, and within my type can have only one of these three. So if I have an element dwelling, which has the type, for example, say I don't know, building, it's going to give me some error. I mean, I'm not following the rule here, so I'm violating a rule if I give an attribute a list outside of these values. Yeah. So some examples of these. So. More examples, the same. So you say I have, when you start it with an @list, it means that you're constraining an attribute. So you give the name of the element whose attributes you're constraining, and you give it the name of the attribute. So I mean, this doesn't happen by just like looking at. Yeah, with practice you'll get the hang of it. And then so this is a an attribute called onTime. It can only have those two values. And then you can give it, so you can close it up to here, but then you can further say that it's required. If the, yeah, so if the onTime attribute does not have a value, then yeah, make an error, give me an error. It's not okay. Okay, and then for the implied, it means, you know, as I remember when I looked it up yesterday, I inferred that, you know, this is, you know, whether you put it or not, I think it would be the same, because I mean, implied, it means it doesn't matter, it's not really required, it's optional. Yeah, and then, for example, this hashtag fixed, it means that an element, an attribute always has one value. So I mean, those are so many, you know, a number of things, so you will kind of like, you can get back to these while you're considering what your client is doing, and, you know, try and see how can I put some constraints on my client's data. Okay, so here, the DTD for the business card that we did. We have how many elements? We have, so for when our business card was only one thing, so let's now remove this. So when our business card was only one business card, which had like this root business card, how many elements do I have? I have an element for business card. I have an element for name. I have an element for phone. And I should have had an element for email. Yeah, so you'll see how many. So I have 4 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm, you know, I need to go in and, you know, like handle each element. What are the constraints on each of these elements? Right, so here I'm saying, yeah, an element for the first one, I'm saying, yes, I have an element, its name is business card. And notice what business card has. We are saying that my business card element has to have these 3 things. It has to have a name, it has to have like phone plus. So it means that at least my business card, it at least has to have 1 phone. I mean, if it has no phones, that's not okay, but if it has 10 phone numbers, that's okay. And then with the email, it's this is like what, 0 or 1. I need to only have 1 email at most. Okay, so with the email with the question mark, I'm just like saying, okay, it's gonna have. So I mean, and this is not something that, this is always the case. It depends on your client's data, how they're handling things. So it's nothing's really like this is the way everyone does this. But this is a sample of how people might do this. Since I only have 1 attribute, I have only here like 1 at list, and it's saying that I have an at list, and then I first give it the name of the element, not the name of the attribute, because it cannot know the attribute unless, I mean, it can get to the attribute from the element. So in the at list, I give it the name of the element, followed by the attribute, and then I could say, yeah, those are the possible values for my phone type. If someone's phone type is, I don't know, like school or whatever, that is not going to be rejected. It's not okay. It can only be one of these 4 phone numbers. And for example, I'm saying that, yeah, required, I have to have a value for type. So this is, you know, this is how those things, how you can do these things with XML, and notice that this is in one XML. This is in one XML file. For example, here you don't have the DTD file, but you have the DTD code within the XML. So and it comes at the beginning, at the very beginning. So let's go and try and validate this, for example. Let's see if this works. And Jason, can I copy and paste? So do they have the access to the slides?
No, they don't.
They don't. Okay. So I mean, you can do this offline if you like. But let's see what happens if we verify that our XML is conforming to the DTD that we have specified.
You want it on Atom is fine?
Oh no, I wanted to copy and paste that code.
Yes.
I wanted.
Yes,
Oh no, I wanted to. So it's in the clipboard, right? So I'd like to visit the website which validates.
Oh, okay. At this
yeah,
one.
Here, yeah, that's possible. So yeah, this is a website. This is a web page where you can go and paste your XML and DTD specifications and see if it's going to catch any errors that you have. And then maybe you lost the code because you copied.
Yeah,
it.
mhm. If only we can multiple copy.
Yeah.
I feel like I do that all the time. Just down here.
Yeah. So for example, they give you this editor where you put your you can copy and paste things, and then and yeah, you can upload actually. But here we can copy and paste, and then I'm gonna say validate, right? Okay. Oh yeah. So here it keeps giving me this error, and that is the error for. What is it telling me? I mean, it's not DTT related. When we copy and paste to that editor, the double quotes are turned into question marks. So that's something technical here. So I'll go and fix that here. And so I can go back to XML document. So the, where was that? So here, where did I give it the phone? Oh yeah, so those have been turned into, instead of double quotes, so this happened to me also yesterday. So sometimes it's not really an error in your DTD, but yeah, some mismatch
some
between
reason, the grabbing from PowerPoint.
Yeah,
to,
those
yeah.
double quotes are troublesome. I mean, they do give those trouble sometimes. I mean, this is not the only editor. Okay, so let's see and say validate. Okay, so here it says no errors found, right? Now, if we go back, and for example, so no errors found, yes, we were careful, super careful. Our example is really simple and easy. Yeah, we mastered everything fine. But let's say that we mess up one of these things. For example, mobile, instead of the phone type, remember we said that we constrained the phone types to be of a set of 4 things. Let's say I'm gonna say like school phone, whatever. So if I say validate, let's see if it gives me the error. So yeah, it would give me an error, and it would give me the type. The type school is So this is matching the rules that I imposed, that I made up, right? So you're going to be doing the same. It will be really useful to go to this website once you're done with your XML and DTD and go and validate and see what's going wrong. But this works typically when your DTD and the XML are in the same place. So maybe if you wanted them to be on separate files, do them on the same file and then separate them later if you like. So okay, so if I go back to this, and so this slideshow.
To present.
Yeah, present from current slide right there. Okay. Yeah, so this was a link to validate. And here's just like an example of if you separated your DTD definitions from your XML, this is how your 2 files would look. So this is the XML file, this is the DTD file, this is how it looks. So yeah, just pay attention to some of those details. So when you're like wrapping up things, this is just to show you, yes, in case you don't have them on the same editor, on the same file. Okay. So the XML schema, we're not going to go into that, but we're just going to give you a sense of an XML schema. You can use schema instead of DTDs if you want to get like more advanced. If you want to have like more control on your data. For example, in a schema, you can say that a phone number. Let's say with a DTD, you cannot say that my phone number cannot have rubbish characters in it, like. My phone number is XY question mark whatever. I mean, if someone gives you whatever rubbish they have, it's gonna the DTD is gonna say, yeah, that's fine. But with a schema, you can have more control over that, and you can use something called regular expressions. But so you can use things to say that no, it has to have like 3 digits separated by a dash, 3 digits followed by dash, whatever. So you can do more constraints, and you can say, for example. Yeah, here in the schema you can say that elements inside my element are supposed to be only 4. You cannot have more. On the DTD you cannot say that. You don't have that control, that much of control. But then yeah, the price of that is it's more complex, right? So yeah, notice how the DTD is kind of really simple, really manageable. With a schema, if you're doing it from scratch, it's it gets really, so this schema is equivalent to this DTD. So that's why we're not really, but it's good to know that there's a schema, and for anyone who'd like to explore it on their own, that's, that can be a really good idea. Any questions? So let's try and do just this example very quickly, the one which had
it's on my desktop. The organization one?
Like this hierarchy thing that you have. So this is a hierarchy that I proposed for your syllabus. And it doesn't contain everything. If it wanted to contain everything, you see like the font is really so small. So this is kind of like to show you how in an XML document you tend to have this hierarchy. In our business card, we had this root, as we said, root business card, and within that you have those branches, which you have name under that and column and stuff. So here this is, for example, a suggested hierarchy for a syllabus. Now, if you have this hierarchy, mapping this hierarchy to an XML, if you like imagine that, or if you have like paper while you were talking to your client, and okay, so Mr. Client, you are maintaining those things, fine, whatever, and you're making sense of how all those data fit together, what belongs to what, and that kind of stuff. You might after you like contemplating about it, and like with scratch papers and stuff and whatever, so you can go and make this kind of plot in your hand, like a hand plot or whatever. So for syllabus, when I looked at the syllabus that Jason has for you on Moodle, he didn't. I inserted this root called syllabus. Now within my root, I have sections about like the information that is maintained inside the syllabus is something, a note for instructor, a note for TA, and then course overview. For a course overview, of course, I could have branched some more, but then like it wouldn't, like the font is going to get really smaller in order to fit. So I just, that's roughly just course overview. Course objectives, fine. That's an element called course objectives, and anything can go in there. No structure for that one, for example. Required resources, policies. Here, for example, the assignments. Yeah, we have those assignments. I propose that. Okay, let's branch those into. Yeah, we have the GitHub repository assignment. Under that, we have a rubric and a due date for each assignment. So this is kind of like, you thinking about what kind of data you have, and sketching that in order to make sense out of it. So that can sometimes be useful rather than just jump to my text editor. Give it some contemplation before and see, okay, it seems that this is how my data is structured, this is a hierarchy of my data. And then once you have that, once you say, okay, I'm settled on this, we could try and do some XML which corresponds to that. I need to use one of the printed ones because that one's covered things. So yeah, so the root is syllabus.
You don't want us to use DTD with this at all?
Oh no, we don't have time to do a DTD, but just a way to kind of like imagine how, rather than just the simple example of the Kermit frog thing, let's do something like more. So yeah, let's do, for example, I have syllabus. And this is a practice that I've always done. Whenever I have to, whenever there's nesting, I would close anything that I open right away. Okay, I wouldn't just wait and say, okay, I'll close it later. That's my practice. You don't have to do it, but in order to avoid as many errors. So I say, okay, I have this root. It's syllabus. Now within this syllabus, this root, so many other things are going to come. So within my root, I'm going to say, okay, I have instructor, and right away I close instructor, and within so now I know, so I go to instructor and I see, okay, well, within instructor, I still have some more. Okay, I need to kind of like do my nesting properly. So I need to stay within instructor if I'm gonna put the name and email and stuff. So within my instructor, there's name. And for example, so here it's like Jason. And I close the name. And then the email is, let's say, you know, any proposed Jason at UMN. And then, you know, like a proper email. And then I close my email. And then the office hours, I would start with office hours. Yeah, and then say like Thursday, 1 to 2 or something like that. Okay, and then I close my office hours. And so see, I mean, Adam is being helpful here for me, and it's suggesting that. Sorry, I didn't. So I think it's a command space. No. So I lost its suggestion. I'm not used to. Okay, office. Yeah. Office hours. How do I say, like, do I say enter?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, so Adam is kind of like, yeah, it's helping me here. Why not? That's great. And so yeah, I'm done with doing the instructor. After the instructor, I have to kind of like watch for my nesting. I have something for the TA, so I go ahead and start with the TA, and do you know, put all the elements within TA, and you know, whenever I have something which has the actual information, I go ahead and insert it there. So typically here within this, the information is going to go within those leaf nodes, like those nodes that don't have any further elements. So I would expect for the rubric to have some data within it, like rubric and my actual data, not more elements. Because rubric hits nothing, nothing is below that. So I start to put what data needs to be there. The due date, I have to put like due date, October 15th, whatever. Close, due date, right? So yeah, yeah, this is just to kind of like give you a sense, if you like, as a practice at home, try and make sense out of it, or just practice on your own customers' data, if you like. So this is kind of like the pattern of how XML goes. So a lot of XML goes within, you know, like your own. You are really the decision maker of what, you know, what. Tags do I have to have? But yeah, you have to decide in a really as logical a way as possible. And we don't need to like finish the whole thing, but this is kind of like an example of how those things might go. Okay, any questions? Yes.
Would you normally indent this so that it's kind of clear what's...
Oh yeah, of course. That's a very good, yeah. So indenting is a very good idea. So instructor, within the instructor, I put, for example, Jason's things, and then I put instructor. So the indenting is, oh, so I have to indent some more. Yeah, it's good. I mean, for your own readability. And yeah, if someone else is collaborating with you, yeah, that's a very good idea, of course. Good.